Hey everybody, it's Ashley of Day to Day Social Work. I'm a private online tutor and I specialize in assisting colleagues to pass the license exam in social work on the master's, bachelor's, and clinical level. You can find me online at Day to Day Social Work on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Wanted to come and do a video today about my experience in private practice so far. So, if you've been following the channel for a while, then you know that I got my license up here, my independent clinical license in January of 2021, and I've been doing therapy ever since then. So, almost 2 years now. I started out doing therapy with survivors of domestic violence at a domestic violence shelter. I did that for just over a year. I left that position in March or April of this year to focus on private practice. And so I started doing some independent therapy on my own. And then myself and a business partner have started and I'm not going to say her name just because I don't know if she wants me to say her name. But anyway, um, she's also a very good friend of mine. But we started a private practice that's going to be a group practice, and we started just trying to do everything on our own and trying to figure out what to do when and what's what, and it's so confusing, it's so hard. We did graciously have a friend of mine and his wife who have a therapy practice of their own volunteer their time to kind of try to help us figure things out. We were just very grateful for their time and their expertise, and so we didn't want to bother them too much, and so we luckily found someone online to give us a business consultation. And then it just so happens that this person had a business incubator program that we applied for and got accepted to. And so we've been in that program. It's a 6 month program. And so we drastically slowed everything down and are focusing on goals and hitting certain milestones, making sure things are in order and we're getting guidance. And we're just very grateful for the program that we're in. So, during this time, I am currently still working full time at the job I've been on for 6 years, just hit the 6 year mark. And so it's been really, really hectic trying to navigate personal life, family life, private life, work life, building a business, having time for myself. So I have not been putting a lot of time or effort into the YouTube channel as I had been in the past, which is why it had been months since I posted anything. Like literally, I can see now, like, oh, I know you had at least a day that you could have posted some videos. I know you had at least this, but like really with uh waking up early, working your first shift job, and then immediately going into the second job of doing therapy in the evenings, and then making sure that I do my notes, and I'm behind on my notes a week at a time sometimes, but I'm not accountable to anybody but myself. So it's like, okay, I'll do these notes tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes the next day, and then the next day is like a week later, and then the next thing you know, you're meeting with the client again tomorrow. So you got to hurry up and get the notes in. So like I literally did not. And then you want to go and have fun, and it's the summertime, and you want to go and do this on the weekend. And by the time Friday comes, you're burnt out, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do a video. So that's where I've been. But things have calmed down a little bit. Um, and today I had time. And over the last few weeks that I've been posting videos, I've had time. I've made time. So yeah, during my time at the domestic violence shelter, which is a population that I really enjoy working with because I was a child witness of domestic violence, as you may know from watching previous videos, I really, really, really thoroughly enjoy working with survivors of domestic violence. And so the director at that agency gave me my very first social work job back in 2011. And when I didn't know what I was doing, she hired me, and, and she found out I got my license, and she hired me again for this that position that I did part time for a year, simultaneously with my full time job. And so I was very grateful for that opportunity because it gave me a chance to kind of do what I wanted to do. Like I didn't have a lot of instruction or structure, so I had to build it on my own and figure out, do I want to do 6 sessions? Do I want to do 45 minutes? Do I want to do an hour? You know, just all of those kind of things. Do I want to do 2 sessions a night? Do I want to do Saturday, Sunday, whatever? So I was very grateful for that opportunity. And then, like I said, I started doing some independent on my own work, which so I was one of the things that I learned about that is I was trying to make payment accessible to everybody. So I was accepting PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. But you can't, what I learned was that those were not good payment options for me because you can't bill a person or charge a card that way. And so sometimes people would book a session and then you plan to see them and then they don't show up and then you can't charge them for it because there's no way to get the money without them giving it to you, the payment on Cash App, Venmo, and all those other things. So, you know, I learned that. Um, and I'm just talking about logistics right now before I get into all the other stuff. What else did I learn from that? Um, Also, I learned, you know, do I want to do 60-minute sessions? I think for me, 60 minutes is enough time. It's a good amount of time to get the person has a good amount of time to tell their story or whatever they want to talk about. We can process through some things. 45 minutes for me would not work for a lot of people just because I like to have engaging conversation. I know people want to get a lot of things out. So 45 minutes didn't work for me as an individual person in private practice. Um, because even if I did 45 minutes, we would still run over to an hour. But then there comes that point of making sure you cut everything off and be cognizant of time, especially if you have somebody scheduled right after that person. So, you know, a lot of us are really nice people and we don't want to cut people off and we're trying to find the right time to say, okay, end of the session. But, you know, as you do it more, you get more apt to cutting it short, not cutting it short, but pacing yourself of when the time is about to end. Um, the main thing for me um, then and even now is my thirst for knowledge to be able to make myself a better professional development, CEUs, and that kind of thing. I want to learn so much more to be able to be better help for my clients. And so at some point, I'm going to have to go full time so that I can carve out some time to actually learn more about therapy. Um, Also, I know my lane and I stay in it. I I do free 15-minute consultations just because I like to talk to people at first and see what their needs are, what their goals are, and see, you know, if I might be able to help them. I've had to decline some people. It was a period where I had people contacting me back to back for grief therapy. Grief is not my specialty, it's not my area that I like to work in. And so I had to send them to someone else, you know, give them other options. But I do want to learn more about grief because grief is more than just losing a person to death. It could be grieving a job, a relationship, a pet, I've learned. I'm not huge into pets, but I know a lot of people are. Um, so I really want to learn more about grief. I had a client who had a specific addiction and was a child. And for confidentiality reasons, I won't say what the addiction was or how old they were, but you know, I didn't know a lot about that addiction, especially related to someone that person's age. And so I was like, dang, I was so excited to be able to do some research and learn more about the addiction and all that. So um I really feel like going full when I do go full time, which is hopefully going to be sometime next year. I'll be able to carve out some time, like I said, for more learning opportunities. And if y'all know of any good online trainings or in-person trainings for just anything related to therapy and social work, please put them in the comment section. I let's see what else. I've been all virtual. I started while we were in the lockdown from the pandemic, and I've been virtual this entire time, even when I worked at the domestic violence shelter. When I worked at the shelter, though, people had an option to do therapy over the phone and not video. So that works for a lot of people. I prefer at least to be on video. I think initially when I started out, I was very, very, very leery of meeting people in person. But now that things have kind of calmed down with the pandemic, wouldn't be opposed to meeting in person. And so my business partner and I, we're completely virtual still, but we hope to have a space at some point in the future. So, what else? I've done couples counseling, and I always make sure to let people know I'm not married. And so I don't do premarital counseling and I don't do marital counseling, but I will do couples counseling for people who are dating in a relationship. And then a lot of times I do sessions with just individual people looking for assistance with their relationship without their partner. Um, I use a psychoanalytic approach, and so I definitely go back into childhood and come up into adulthood and talk about things that have happened in people's past that may be manifesting up until now. I use attachment theory. I use CBT. I want to do forensic interviewing, so I'm trying to get more information on, how I will be able to do that. In our group practice, my partner likes working with elderly, geriatric population. I don't necessarily. Um, I don't like working with children that are under the age of 12. I have, but I don't like to. That's not my lane. What else? What else? What else? The youngest person that I have currently is 19, and the oldest person is 66. So it is across the lifespan. Um, except, like I said, the younger children I don't particularly enjoy working with because I don't feel like I'm able to really communicate with them because they're not cognitively developed yet and their language isn't developed yet. But I do, like I said, want to do forensic interviewing because I did it as an internship. In grad school, I interned at a child advocacy center and learned about forensic interviewing, and it was just so neat to me. And I love also criminal justice, law enforcement, hence why my minor was criminal justice in undergrad and why I loved working at the police department as a law enforcement victim advocate. Um, let's see, what else? Um, One of the things that I really noticed is that I kind of feel guilty about not necessarily being able to check in on my clients when I don't hear from them for a while. So I've been a case manager for pretty much my whole career, right? So, we check in on people depending on their level of acuity. So if it's a high acuity patient, then we check in once a week or more. If it's a medium acuity, it's once every 2 weeks or so. If it's low acuity, it's like once a month or every 2 months. But for therapy, it's like, okay, you wait for the client to reach out to you. So I'll meet with someone consistently every week for 4 weeks or every 2 weeks for 8, 9 weeks. And then I don't hear from them for 2 months. And it's like, oh, I want to call them and see how they're doing and see what's going on and that kind of thing. But I can't. And I started to feel guilty about it. I'm like, should I be calling or should I not? And I had a client who was like, oh, well, you don't check on me. I didn't think that you cared. And I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to check on you. I'm waiting to hear back from you. So it's a guilt for me. It's like, do I contact people when I don't hear from them? Like, hey, hadn't had a session with you in a while, just wondering how you're doing. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. But I also, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've never seen anywhere or heard anybody say that, you should check in on your clients in between sessions. So, but let's see what else. Now since I don't take PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, all of those, I take cards. I've learned that people will take their card off file without people will ghost you. I've learned that. And they'll take their card off file so that even though they agreed to the payment agreement, they will not stick to it. And but that hadn't been a huge problem. I've also had people who thought maybe we were friends because we were close in age or because I'm a very nice person in general. Um, but that's obviously not the case. What else? And then one of the things I've always wondered is like when people have behavioral issues, like, and I guess this goes more so for younger kids, like what is counseling as far as me being a therapist? Like, what is my role for someone who has a behavioral issue? Because I kind of feel like that is something for people who specialize in like behavior modification or PCIT or something like that. Whereas, obviously, I believe that a lot of times when kids or teens have behavioral issues, it is due to something deeper, some root problem that may not have been hit upon yet. And so, but as far as the actual behavior, like I can get down to the root of the behavior. Like you're acting out because your parents got divorced, or you're acting out because you didn't make an attachment with your caregiver or whatever. But like the actual defiance, what do I do as a therapist about that? You know? So that's been a challenge for me. What else? So now my business partner and I have been working with an agency where we have to diagnose people, and I'm completely new to diagnosing. Like I don't want to diagnose anybody, but I know it's necessary. In my individual practice, I focus more so on working through issues, and I don't diagnose. And a lot of times, people have a diagnosis already when they come to me. So when you're working with agencies, I found, they obviously want you to bill and diagnose. So we got these little handy dandy DSM-5 TRs. It's so pretty, shiny. And then we got, and then we have tabs that I haven't put in here yet. Like it literally just came in the mail the other day. I just hadn't had time to do the tabs. But I am definitely looking forward to reading through some of the disorders, the common ones, not so common ones, and um, correctly as much as I can diagnosing people with, not just let me just get used to this one diagnosis and diagnose everybody with it. Like if I'm gonna put my name on it, I want it to be as accurate as possible. Because diagnoses will carry with some people for years in their life and all the other stuff. Um, so that's how therapy is going so far. I will give y'all a more detailed update on the private practice later as we grow and develop and launch and things like that. But right now we're just still in the process because we both work full time, so we're still just in the process of laying the foundation and the groundwork and just doing sessions here and there after work or on the weekends. um but let me see what else about therapy. And just in general though, I still have my therapist, and I'm always going to be an advocate for therapists having a therapist. And my therapist helps me a lot with things dealing with therapy. My therapist is an LPC. Yeah, he's an LPC. So he gives me good advice, resources, and things to consider, and then also helps me with my issues because we all we all have something. And so I would just say, if you are a therapist and you have things going on, and just please don't think that you can just handle everything on your own and then try to go and tell other people, you know, that they need therapy and all that kind of stuff. But that's where I am with things. I don't want to make this so long and drawn out, so I will end this here. Please comment in the comment section if you have any advice for me as a therapist, if you have any resources for continuing education. I still meet, well, I kind of fell off. My mentee and I, we kind of fell off a little bit. But she's busy, I'm busy. We do keep in touch. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, because it's been a while since I posted, and I know some people are new, I have a mentee. I offered mentorship at the beginning of last year to three people. Two people showed for out of the three, and then only one person kind of lasted. So we definitely were consistent for a whole year, and then life happens. And so you can see an interview with her on this Day to Day Social Work YouTube channel. But we kind of are looking forward to reconnecting in the new year. But we have been in touch with each other throughout the year as well. So um, again, the channel will be changing towards therapy, clinical. So it's kind of neat to see from when I started this channel in 2015 up until now, just 7 years ago. Or I just don't realize it's in 7 years to see my progression and someone just working on getting their LMSW and getting the LISW and then going into therapy. So hopefully we still have people that have been with me along the way and will continue to come along with me throughout this journey. Um, and I look forward to doing some new things in the new year, as far as maybe doing some interviews with you all, um, getting more information from you all, showing you more, giving you more information about private practice and how to get it started and all that kind of stuff. So until later in the next video, I will see you.